Many thanks for joining us with Television News. I am Rosemary Kokotega. The headlines. President Trump lauds President Tinubu's decisive leadership against terrorists. Court sentences suspect in Orire abduction to life imprisonment. Police top list as ICPC uncovers 908 ghost workers. In business, CBN retains NPR at 26.5% for third straight month as external reserves hit $52.52 billion. United States President Donald Trump has lauded President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for his decisive leadership on behalf of the Nigerian people. President Trump, in a letter to Nigeria's president, applauded Tinubu's resolve to tackle the issues plaguing Nigeria, especially the incessant violence affecting Christian communities. The United States President stated in his letter he is honored to stand with Nigeria in the fight against terrorists and to make the country stronger and more prosperous. In November last year, President Trump and President Tinubu signed a bilateral agreement on a security alliance to establish a joint working group co-headed by the National Security Advisors of Nigeria and the United States. The U.S.-Nigeria-based relations flourished in recent times, with the two sides working closely in tackling security challenges afflicting Nigeria. Through effort of the working group, the two sides agreed on several steps, including training, intelligence sharing, and joint operations to roll back terrorist activities. Highlight of the collaboration was the May 16 coordinated attack on ISIS hideouts in the Lake Chad area, which led to the killing of the group's top leader, Abubakar al-Minoki, and many of his lieutenants, which pit to end the U.S. proscription of Nigeria as a country of particular concern. Last week, the U.S. Assistant Secretary of State for Africa, Frank Garcia, visited Nigeria, where he held meetings with senior government officials and pledged to strengthen the cooperation between Nigeria and Washington, D.C. in security and other areas of collaboration. Senate Committee on Sports has frowned at the recurring failure of sports agencies to appear before it, despite what lawmakers described as years of poor performance in the sector. Chairman of the committee, Senator Abdul Ningi, expressed disappointment over inability of the Nigeria Football Federation, NFF, and the National Sports Commission, NSC, to qualify the Super Eagles for the recently concluded FIFA World Cup, despite expansion of qualification slots for African countries. Senator Ningi said it is the constitutional responsibility of the National Assembly to exercise oversight over government agencies and ensure accountability in the management of public resources.
2025 AFCON men, how much was spent, and I wanted them to give us an idea how much has the nation spent in the course of our World Cup qualifiers. Fourth, I wanted them to find out from them that when Nigeria won the Women African Championship, I was present in the villa, and the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Nigerian Armed Forces promised $100,000 per.
Senator Ningi further directed that a request be forwarded to the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation for records of funds released to the agencies within the period under review.
We will require full presidential intervention from 2023 to date, details, budget releases and pending 2023, full details releases for 2023, budgetary provisions, full details release for 2024, full details release for 2025, details release for other federations. I mean, you are not only funding football, you are funding basketball, volleyball.
The committee also resolved to seek details of all financial releases made to the agencies during the period under investigation. In the same vein, the Senate called for a tighter safety oversight and mandatory insurance schemes in Nigeria's mining sector following a local mine landslide in Kogi State that left 20 workers dead. The resolution followed a motion presented by Kogi East Senator Isa Jibrin, who detailed a catastrophic ground failure on July 14, 2026. In the Alufele area of Ankpa local government area. He noted that heavy machinery loading operations triggered the collapse, trapping artisanal miners underground and sinking multiple trucks. Senator Jibrin warned that unsafe practices, specifically using the room and pillar method without structural reinforcement combined with the area's fragile geology, make future collapses inevitable without immediate action. He also highlighted that most miners work without contracts, health coverage, or life insurance. Seconding the motion, Senate Chief Whip Tahir Mongonu noted that mine collapses have become a national crisis. He urged lawmakers to draft enforceable legislation rather than relying on non-binding motions. Following the debate, the Senate, among other resolutions, urged the Ministry of Solid Minerals Development to conduct a nationwide audit of licensed miners. Meanwhile, the ad hoc committee of the House of Representatives investigating activities surrounding the alleged establishment and operations of the Presidential Foreign Investment Promotion Council has expressed disappointment over failure of some ministries, departments and agencies, MDAs of the federal government to honor its investigations. An official statement indicates that the committee views this conduct as a serious affront to the constitutional oversight powers of the House of Representatives and an unacceptable disregard for the authority of the Parliament, which represents the sovereign will of the Nigerian people. The statement explained it must be clearly understood that invitations issued by a duly constituted committee of the House of Representatives are not matters of discretion, as they are issued pursuant to the constitutional powers vested in the National Assembly under sections 88 and 89 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999 as amended, and compliance is therefore a legal obligation, not an act of courtesy. The committee hereby issues this as a final notice to all defaulting MDAs, directing that they appear before the committee on Thursday with all relevant officers and documents requested in the committee's correspondence. That statement warns that any ministry, department or agency that fails to appear without lawful justification will leave the committee with no alternative than to invoke every constitutional and statutory power available to the House of Representatives to compel compliance and ensure accountability. The committee reassured in the statement it remains committed to conducting its assignment professionally, fairly and transparently and without fear or favor, reiterating that the investigation is in national interest and not targeted at any individual or institution. The federal government has stepped up enforcement of its national policy on anti-bullying, warning that students found bullying their peers could face sanctions ranging from suspension to expulsion as authorities intensify efforts to make Nigerian schools safer. The renewed campaign was unveiled during a one-day sensitization workshop organized by the Federal Ministry of Education in partnership with the Universal Basic Education Commission, bringing together students, teachers, and education stakeholders in Abuja. Jacinta Oluchi-Okori has the report.
Leading the campaign, the Executive Secretary of UBEC, Dr. Aisha Garba, represented by the Commission's Deputy Executive Secretary, Razak Olajunwon, said bullying continues to undermine students' academic performance, mental health, and overall well-being, making stronger enforcement of the national policy imperative.
If you notice in your school that a child is trying to bully his compatriots, is trying to bully his mates, please make a report. you can make a report without being noticed. Some children, because of the fact that they don't want to affect, they don't want to be beaten or bully after the school's hours, they will keep quiet. At the end of the day, it affects them psychologically. It affects their input and output in terms of education balances in schools. So most students that is under bullying always come out. It affects them. It's obviously, you see them not, they'll be quiet.
He urged students to break the culture of silence by reporting every incident of bullying, stressing that early reporting could prevent lasting emotional and psychological harm. Delivering the keynote address, Executive Director of Sustainable Solutions for Youth and the Vulnerable Initiative, Ayotola Ilori, described bullying as a growing challenge with far-reaching consequences for victims, perpetrators, families, and entire school communities.
The penultimate line of the second stanza of the national anthem that says, "And unto our children a banner without stain." One challenge that we've had as young people is the fact that we cannot relate to things and we become very shy. But for you to stand here in all your wealth of experience to say you have been bullied before, it makes it relatable for every child there that you're not being bullied because something is wrong with you. You're being bullied because somebody chose to be unkind, and we can all choose kindness. So thank you very much, sir, for that relatable experience. I appreciate it coming from you, and well done, sir.
The Federal Ministry of Education reaffirmed its commitment to working with UBEC, school authorities, parents, and other stakeholders to sustain nationwide awareness, strengthen implementation of the national policy on anti-bullying, and ensure that every Nigerian child learns in a safe, inclusive, and supportive environment. Oluchi Jacinta Okore, ASO Television News.
JAMB says registration has commenced for candidates seeking admission into Nigeria Certificate in Education NCE programs in colleges of education and non-technological agricultural programs in polytechnics across the country. The body says interested candidates who possess the required O-level credits can register by visiting any institutional Professional Registration Center IPRC located in colleges of education or any JAMB Professional Registration Center PRC nationwide. This follows the federal government's decision to waive requirement for candidates seeking admission into NCE and non-technological agricultural programs to sit for the Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination UTME. JAMB says it's already developed a robust admission process under the new policy to ensure only qualified candidates are admitted, thereby maintaining and enhancing the quality and standards of the affected programs. The board also says candidates who sat for the 2026 UTME but have decided to pursue NCE or any non-technological agricultural program can convert their applications at any IPRC or JAMB PRC at no additional cost. JAMB is therefore urging eligible candidates to take advantage of the opportunity to promptly visiting designated registration centers in colleges of education or JAMB offices nationwide to complete their registration, saying the policy is aimed at expanding access to these important educational pathways while preserving their quality and standards. Social Democratic Party SDP says it is now set for the 2027 elections. National Chairman Professor Umar Sadiq of the party, Gombe, made this known while briefing newsmen amid party leadership crisis. Topsy Gimba has details.
Professor Umar Sadiq Gombe says Social Democratic Party plunged into an internal crisis caused by the former chairman Alhaji Shehu Musa Geba until the matter got to the Supreme Court and ruled in the favor of the current National Working Committee of the party. Professor Umar Sadiq said all is now set for the party in 2027 elections. He disclosed that the party has fielded in all its candidates for presidential, gubernatorial, senatorial, member House of Representatives and State Houses of Assembly, including the forthcoming Osun State governorship race in August.
The SDP got a resounding win at the Federal High Court today, that INEC must accept our Oshun candidate and upload him as a duly elected candidate of the Social Democratic Party in a primary duly monitored by the commission and handled by the party. So today, this morning, the certified true copy of which we are about to receive by the will of Allah today and take it to INEC. So even on this issue that they want to go through the back door is already settled. A federal high court today have settled it by today's judgment, and we have appealed what they went through the back door and tried to.
The national chairman said the former chairman of the party, Alhaji Shehu Musa Gabam, intended to destroy the party when he was removed as chairman following misappropriation of the party's fund. But despite all this, the party was able to win all its cases. Professor Omar Sadiq Gombe displayed bank statements running to millions of naira, which the former chairman, Alhaji Shehu Musa Gabam, withdrew fraudulently for himself and his company.
All our issues are there via follow on the social media, on the print media, on the electronic media, and we are always here in this office. You are free to come to the office of the National Secretary of SDP to make any inquiry. Our NWC members are free, any one of them, from any part of the country representing Nigeria is a member. You can ask Rodneri about Sokoto, or if there is an issue of Sokoto, if you call Rodneri, we will be able to handle it.
Topsy Gimba reporting for ASO Television News.
News. You can watch us live on DSTV 392, StarTimes TV 127, Free TV 507, UHF band channel 38. Coming up after the break in the bulletin, court sentences suspects in Owerri abduction to life imprisonment. Stay with us.
There are stories that make the heart race, where love is born in the most dangerous moments.
Ali was actually Poyraz Ali.
Each secret can destroy everything. Love, passion, power, lies.
It's not the first time you let me down. It was my mistake for trusting an idiot like you.
The dramas that make you feel everything. Catch the sizzling episodes of Sins and Roses at 4 p.m, Domenica Monteiro at 5 p.m, Be My Sunshine at 6 p.m, and Avenida Brazil at 7 p.m, Central African Time. Only on Novelas Plus.
The High Court in Abuja has sentenced 3 suspects in the abduction of students and teachers in Owerri local government area for your state to life imprisonment. According to the court, the sentencing of Abdulrazak Umar alias Abu Khalifa, Abu Khalid, Yunus Musa alias Yunus bin Musa, and Shamsu Adamu Sani alias Abu Itisa will start from the date of their arrest. Before the sentencing by Justice Salim Ibrahim, counsel to the defendants, pleaded with the court to sentence them on liberal terms. He added that they were first-time offenders and had pleaded guilty. Ibrahim pointed out that this showed that they were remorseful of their actions and all the counts they were charged with are not related to the kidnapping. He added that the convicts were married men who have children and have aged parents who are dependent on them. The counsel pleaded with the court to give them a second chance at life and sentence them on liberal terms. However, prosecution counsel pointed out that the convicts were aware of the people on the battlefield, and as through Nigerians, they should have reported it to the authorities. After the charges were read to them, they pleaded guilty to membership of a proscribed terrorist group. At the arraignment on alleged terrorism at the Federal High Court, Abuja, the 3 defendants also pleaded guilty to concealing information on the planning and execution of the abduction. However, only the first accused person, Abdulrazak Umar alias Abu Khalifa Abu Khalid, pleaded guilty to counts 7, 8, 9, and 10, which bordered on training and passing instructions and inciting terror group members on a particular religious ideology. The 3 accused persons were on trial by DSS on a 10-count charge bordering on kidnapping, concealment of information, and terrorism-related offenses. According to the charges, the defendants, all from Niger State, are accused of knowingly withholding information about individuals linked to terrorist activities, participating in kidnapping, and using a messaging platform to facilitate terrorist training. In another development, the Kaduna State High Court on Wednesday fixed September 24, 2026 for ruling on an application filed by the state's former governor Nasir El-Rufai seeking the reversal of the trial judge from his ongoing trial. Justice Darius Kobo fixed the date after hearing arguments from counsel to the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, and the defense on the application. Addressing journalists after the proceedings, counsel to the ICPC, Ayodeji Adedigbe, said application for the judge's reversal was the central issue before the court. He explained the defense had filed 4 separate applications asking the judge to disqualify himself from the case, but withdrew 3 of them before proceeding with the 4th. The senior lawyer maintained that the application was an afterthought, saying their prayer before the court was straightforward, that the honorable judge should dismiss the application for reversal and fix a date for trial so that the substantive case can proceed. On his part, counsel to El-Rufai Paul Erokoro said the application was necessitated by the comments made by the trial judge while ruling on his client's bail application in June 2026. A federal high court in Lagos also fixed July 24 to rule on an application by the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, seeking permission to destroy a clandestine methamphetamine laboratory uncovered in a remote forest in Ogun State. Justice Musa Kakaki fixed the date after a special court sitting held on Wednesday at the lab facility in Mowe Village, Ijebu East local government area of the state. On July 10, 2026, the NDLEA arraigned 3 Mexican nationals and 7 Nigerians on an 11-count charge bordering on alleged establishment and operation of the clandestine laboratory. According to the NDLEA, its operatives discovered the laboratory with equipment and chemicals allegedly used to produce 2,419.48 kilograms of methamphetamine with an estimated street value of more than 480 billion naira. The defendants are accused of manufacturing and possessing large quantities of methamphetamine, a psychotropic substance classified alongside hard drugs as cocaine, heroin, and LSD, among others. All 10 defendants pleaded not guilty to the charges. The Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, has identified the Nigeria Police Force and 5 federal ministries and agencies as having the highest number of suspected fake workers uncovered during its payroll verification exercise. ICPC Chairman Musa Adamu Aliyu disclosed the findings while speaking on the Commission's investigation into payroll fraud across federal government institutions on Wednesday. The Commission said it discovered suspected 908 ghost workers in at least 50 ministries, departments, and agencies, MDAs, recovering about 942 million naira allegedly paid as fraudulent salaries. According to the ICPC, ghost workers and are fictitious names inserted into government payrolls to receive salaries fraudulently. In some cases, salaries are allegedly diverted by officials who add relatives or associates to the payroll despite them not being employed. Aliyu said investigators uncovered one case involving a man who allegedly placed the names of his wife, son, and mother-in-law on the payroll while also collecting the salaries of 12 workers. Among the institutions identified, the Nigeria Police Force recorded the highest number of suspected fake workers. The Nigeria Customs Service (NCS) says the purported recruitment update currently circulating on some social media platforms is fake and did not originate from the service. NCS's spokesperson Abdullahi Maiwada made this known in a statement on Thursday in Abuja. Maiwada urged members of the public to disregard the false information, saying the service would only communicate recruitment updates through its official channels. He also advised the public to remain vigilant and verify information before sharing it. Corps Marshal of the Federal Road Safety Corps, Sheikh Mohammed, has ordered a nationwide crackdown on patrol misconduct, directing all commanding officers to enforce strict professional standards across the country. The directive targets extortion, abuse of authority, harassment, indiscipline, and other unethical conduct during patrol operations as part of efforts to strengthen public confidence in the Corps. Commanding officers are instructed to intensify supervision of patrol teams, conduct regular ethics training, and ensure strict compliance with the FRSC Establishment Act and operational guidelines. The Corps Marshal stressed that all road users must be treated fairly with dignity and respect, regardless of their status, warning that every patrol interaction is subject to public scrutiny and accountability. He also warned that any officer found guilty of misconduct would face disciplinary action, reaffirming the Corps' zero tolerance policy on corruption and its commitment to professionalism, integrity, and ethical service delivery. The Monetary Policy Committee (MPC) of the Central Bank of Nigeria has retained the monetary policy rate (MPR) at 26.5% for the third consecutive month, citing the need for continued policy caution amid global uncertainties. Announcing the decision after the committee's 306th meeting in Abuja, CBN Governor Mr. Olayemi Cardoso said the MPC also held other key rates steady. The cash reserve ratio was maintained at 45% for deposit money banks, 16% for merchant banks, and 75% for non-TSA public sector deposits. The asymmetric corridor was also left at plus 500 and minus 450 basis points around the MPR. According to the committee, the decision followed a comprehensive assessment of domestic and global conditions. While headline inflation eased marginally in June, renewed hostilities in the Middle East heightened uncertainty and posed fresh risk to global energy prices and domestic inflation. The MPC, however, expressed optimism about Nigeria's external sector. Gross external reserves rose to $52.52 billion as of July 17, 2026, up from $50.47 billion at the end of May 2026. The increase was driven mainly by receipts from crude oil-related taxes and third-party inflows. The reserve level can finance approximately 11 months of imports of goods and services, well above the international benchmark of 3 months. The committee commended the federal government's renewed commitment to stronger fiscal and monetary policy coordination, noting that it has helped cushion the economy from the adverse effects of the Middle East conflict. Looking ahead, the MPC projected that economic growth would remain resilient in 2026, supported by rising crude oil production, improving business activity, and ongoing reforms. It expressed confidence that the inflation would moderate further over the medium term, aided by foreign exchange stability, the lagged effects of previous monetary tightening, and improved food supply during the harvest season. The committee reaffirmed its commitment to maintaining price and financial system stability and said it stands ready to take appropriate policy actions as economic conditions evolve. Well, that's the bulletin, but here is a reminder of one of the headline stories before we call it a day. President of the United States of America, Donald Trump, has lauded President Tinubu for his decisive leadership on behalf of the Nigerian people. In a letter to President Tinubu, President Trump applauded Tinubu's resolve to tackle the issues plaguing Nigeria, especially the incessant violence affecting Christian communities. Many thanks for watching. I am Rosemary Hukokotega.